Hi everyone, welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's Community Talk Show. We're a weekly show. We're very happy to have on today Frank Lopez. He has lived in the area for about 25 years. He's a member of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks, also known as the BPOE. And he served there as the Exalted ruler of the Brattleboro Elks Lodge for the past 4 years. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
Yes, we are so glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Good, good. I think that the BPOE is a building that many of us have driven by many, many times. It's right, it's on Putney Road, right across from the Commons. And if for folks in the area who haven't quite registered that, it's on your left, a beautiful big old white building there. And Frank, you were born and you lived for a number of years in Connecticut. When you were growing up there, was it an urban area or rural?
Well, for the first 9 years of my life, I lived in Bridgeport, and that was pretty much city.
Yeah.
Then after that, we moved up to Huntington, which is a part of Shelton, Connecticut, and that was more rural.
Yes. So you got a little bit of both growing up.
Yeah.
Did you do sports? Were you interested in anything in particular?
When I was a kid, I wasn't really good at much. I mean, I liked to play sports. I played baseball, I played basketball, I played football. Things I excelled in, honestly, was like target shooting and ping pong, golf, things of that nature.
Yeah, and I assume that those were the things that you most enjoyed as well.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, so you came to the area. You had a job with Design Standards Corporation, which is a business in Charlestown, New Hampshire. And what did you do there?
Well, I started there in 1983 back in Connecticut. And at the time when I started, I was a tool and die maker.
Oh.
And I worked my way up to become the director of operations. And I was responsible for all manufacturing at the plant.
And that was medical devices?
Medical devices.
And for tool and die, did you go through an apprenticeship? Did you work with someone to learn how to do that?
Yes, I had to go through a 4-year apprenticeship.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I loved being a tool and die maker.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if it's a dying business or craft.
It pretty much is. I mean, there are not a lot of younger people going into the trade. For one simple reason is the pay. Okay, don't get me wrong. Tool and die makers today are making a lot of money, but coming into the trade, you don't know anything, so you're not going to get paid anything. So young kids would rather go flip burgers someplace for $15, $18 an hour than start for a starting wage as an apprentice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. Yes. And so can you tell us how you came to the area and how you, especially how you came to the Brattleboro Elks?
Well, like I said, my job moved up here in 1995. So that's when we moved to Hinsdale. I played golf at a few different golf courses, and I ended up at the Brattleboro Country Club. And I started playing there, and I joined with a friend of mine from work, and neither of us really knew anybody. In fact, we didn't know anybody at the time. So we used to play by ourselves on Saturdays and Sundays. And one day, over lunch, one of the guys approached me and asked me if I'd like to join their group, because they had a group that was like 10 or 12 guys that would meet. They draw cards to see who's partners, and they play. So I said, yeah, absolutely. So my buddy Tommy and I started playing with them. And as time went on, I got to meet more and more of the guys from the country club. And some of them I became pretty close with. And one night, it was a Tuesday night, it was league night, and we got rained out. And I was sitting, I had just at the bar, I just ordered my dinner at the country club. And my friend Henry says to me, "Why don't you come over to the Elks?" I said, "I just ordered my dinner." I said, "I'd love to come over, but I got to eat." He says, "Well, come on over after." I said, "Okay." So when I got out, it was pouring raining. I mean, it was brutal. And I got in the car and I said, "I'm just going home." I said, I'm not gonna go over there. And I got halfway over there because I had to go buy it anyway. And I said, no, to myself, I told Henry I was gonna go, so I'll go. Best thing I ever did. When I walked in there, it was Tuesday night. The funny thing was it's Tuesday night and bingo's going on. My wife played bingo that I knew about for about 10 years. I never knew where she played it. Guess where she was playing it? At the Elks. So he explained to me that it was bingo night, so I was going to have to go downstairs. So I went downstairs and I walked in and I knew almost everybody in the place from the country club. And I mean, the atmosphere that was there, it just reminded me of the places that I used to frequent when I was a lot younger.
Wow.
And I just loved the atmosphere, and I just felt like I was home.
Wow.
And I told Henry, I said, "Get me in here. I want to be a member."
Yeah.
So I went through the process and I became a member, and I believe that was around 2008.
I love the story of your wife being right upstairs, and she'd been going all those years.
Although I never even knew where she was going.
That's pretty funny. That's kind of amazing. Yeah. So you felt a sense of belonging in going there and being.
I did.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about what is in an Elks Lodge? You know, when you walk in the door, you know, you said there was bingo upstairs, but do you have your own restaurant and bar and all of those kind of facilities?
We do not. We have a kitchen.
Yeah.
We have a bar. We have a social room. We have a big dining hall.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the building is, you have to see the building to see how it's laid out. It's a beautiful building. We do have a kitchen. We do not have a restaurant license. Okay. We can do meals for our members, but we don't put out a shingle and say we're doing lunches every week or every day or breakfast every day or anything like that.
But you do have, so you have memberships, and could you talk a little bit about what it takes to become a member of the Elks?
Well, to become a member, you have to be proposed by a member, or sponsored by a member. There's a couple of prerequisites. One, you have to be an American citizen, and two, you have to believe in God. And nobody cares what God, as long as you believe in God. Those are really the only two prerequisites. Then you need two Elks, I believe it is, to write letters of reference for you. And then there's a background check that gets done. And then once all that process is over and you're accepted, then you go through an initiation.
What does an initiation entail?
Well, first you come in and the week before you come and you go through an indoctrination. And you watch a video about the Elks, and then either the Exalted ruler or the leading knight will give you a big explanation about what the Elks is all about, the different programs and whatnot that the Elks are running, our state project. And then the following week you come in and you go through the initiation ritual. Takes about 45 minutes. It's a very, to me, it was a very moving ritual. And I've performed the ritual many, many, many times now, being Exalted ruler as many times as I have. And I just love it when I do it. I mean, it's just and you know, it's funny because a lot of times when I'm speaking or the other officers are speaking, especially when I'm speaking, because I'm looking right at the candidates, you can tell who's paying attention and who's just, you know, kind of looking around and just saying, when's this getting over so I can go have a drink? It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Mhm.
And those are the candidates or the members that you can almost tell are not going to get involved. They probably won't even come to the lodge much. They're only there because a friend of them wanted to join type of thing. But
Yeah.
I can't tell you anything about the ritual unless I happen to have an application here. I can put your name on it and send it to you. And I'd be happy to initiate you and make you part of the family.
That's wonderful. And this is also available online too, Frank, right?
You can get an application online, yes. And there is a process where you have to send it to, I think it goes to Grand Lodge, and then Grand Lodge will send it to the secretary of the lodge that you want to join.
Yes. And so what does an exalted ruler do? It's such a big title.
The exalted ruler basically just makes sure that everything gets done that's supposed to get done. He doesn't do everything himself. Anybody that goes into that position that thinks they don't need help doesn't know what they're in for. Okay, you have to have people that are willing to help you. You have to have officers that are willing to stand behind you. You have to have members that trust you. And it's just basically making sure that the members' needs are being met, that Grand Lodge needs are being met, the state's needs are being met, and the lodge's needs are being met.
The history of the Elks is very interesting. I know that it was established in 1868 in New York City.
Correct.
Which is Lodge number 1.
Lodge number 1. Yep.
And Brattleboro is 1499.
That's correct.
That tells you something. So can you give us some information about a little bit about the history and the breadth of this organization, because it's all through America?
We have lodges all through the country and in Puerto Rico, Guam. There might be one other place. I'm not positive. But yes, it was established in 1868. A gentleman named Charles Vivian came over from England. He was a member of what they called the Jolly Corks then. Came over, I believe there was 8 original gentlemen from England that started. And there was another 9 or so American men that joined them, and they were looking for a name. The reason they picked the Elk was because the Elks were a timid animal that wanted to live in peace, but wasn't afraid to fight to protect their young, their infirmed or whatever. So that's where the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks was born.
Right, and that was attached to a story, wasn't it? The way it became sort of a more charitable organization.
One of the original members' husbands passed away.
Yep.
And he had kids and no income, no means of support. And the rest of them got together, pooled their money, and did what they could do to help this woman out.
And the Elks themselves, historically, have been charitable. Charity has been a big part of what you folks do. There are almost 2,000 lodges in America. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes. And can you talk a little bit about the various things that you do? I know that the Vermont Elks, for instance, you have a summer camp.
We do. We have a camp up in Ripton, Vermont called Silver Towers. It's a camp for disabled campers with disabilities. It could be emotional, physical, mental, whatever. Well, we boast that we take people from age 6 to 60, but
Mhm.
truth be known, nobody's ever been turned away because they were over 60.
Mhm.
The 12 lodges in the state support this camp through an assessment that is determined by the number of members that you have at your lodge. Um, there's also numerous fundraisers that we do to raise money for the Elks or for the camp.
Mhm.
We have a classic car and motorcycle ride in July where you can get people to fund your ride. Same thing, a couple of weeks later, we have a walkathon up at the camp where you can get people to sponsor you to walk. There's numerous raffles and
Yeah.
just all kinds of fundraising to support the camp.
Yes, and you also do scholarships for kids.
We do scholarships. The Elks as an organization gives out, I just read, I think 2019, 2020, the Elks nationally gave out $3.7 million worth of scholarships to eligible high school
Mhm.
children or
So this is
students.
something that local kids could be aware of as well, of submitting applications for scholarship through the Elks.
They can. We also go, you can go through the Elks. There's different, I mean, through the national, there are different scholarships. There's what they call the Legacy Award, which anybody, any student, high school student can apply for. It does not have to be an Elk member. At a local level,
Mhm.
we give out, the Brattleboro Elks gave out $19,000 last year
Mhm.
um, to area students. And it's not just, excuse me, people from Brattleboro. We went to, I think we had a few in Hinsdale that were awarded as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Other things we do for youth is we run a student of the month at most of the high schools around. And the thing that I like about the Student of the Month award is we go, I shouldn't say we, I have been to a few of them, but our scholarship guru, Gene Whitney, is the guy that heads up all of the youth stuff
Mhm.
when it comes to the students. And he'll go to the schools. Well, it's kind of tough now with COVID because nobody is allowed in or out, but we'll go and present the plaques to the kids. And the kids get called down to this room. And well, I know in Brattleboro, they get called down to this room and they have no idea why they're being called down there.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that I like about it is the recipients aren't always, it's not always because they have good grades,
Mm.
not because they're brainiacs. It's because they're good people. It's because they've done something noteworthy. I remember there was a few years ago, there was a young lady that found $100 bill on the steps of the school and turned it into the office. I mean, to me, that's unheard of. So she got one of the plaques,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the school year, we take and we do this for all the schools around the area. I think there's 4 or 5 high schools that we do this for. And at the end of the school year, we hold a student recognition dinner for all the students or all the student of the months,
Mhm.
all of the scholarship recipients and their parents, all the
Wow.
parents.
Yeah.
In fact, the past couple of years, there's been so many people, we've had to do 2 dinners.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And you also serve the veterans in different ways.
We do. We actually, we just got another grant. We're donating to what they call Home at Last
Yes.
for the veterans. Last year was the first time we supported that. I think it was the first time we heard about it, actually.
Yes.
So that's something that, yes, we will continue to support.
That's,
The Elks have a creed or a motto that says, as long as there are veterans, the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks will not forget them.
how many members does Brattleboro have?
We have, I'm going to guess right now about 812, something like that.
Over 800 members in the Brattleboro area. That's a lot.
Yes.
I think like many fraternal orders that started, I think most of them started back in the 1800s. This was primarily a sort of a social club for men. And I think that it wasn't until, this is a sign of the times and how things have changed. It was in the 70s when Black men were allowed to join, and then in the 90s when women were allowed to join.
Honestly, our female members probably make up 40% of our membership.
Wow, wow. And going back just a bit to those early days, and this is a personal story. My grandfather was an Elk, which I didn't know, and he had a business in New York City. So he may have been part of Lodge Number 1, because this was probably, it was early 1900s, right? It was a long time ago. Anyway, my grandmother, of course, was not part of that, and he only would come home and talk about it, and she knew that they had a bar and that kind of thing, and they socialized, and she was always thought it might have been a bit nefarious. And so she said, I think what the BPOE stands for is bums put on earth.
Yeah, and we like to say best people on earth.
Right. Yeah, there are many things, that are signs of the times, and that was one of them. She had a great sense of humor about it. The building, and it's a lovely old building in town, and you gave us a nice description, of what you guys do in there and the kinds of activities that you have. But could you talk a little bit there? There's also a nice little historical story there.
Well, there is. The building was owned by Julius Estes, who was the grandson of Jacob Estes, who founded the Estes Organ Company. There is a pipe organ in the lodge in what used to be the ladies' lounge that is a prototype. And the prototype was for Henry Ford. Henry Ford contacted the Estes Organ Company and gave him the specs of what he wanted. And they finished it, and he came to town, said, yep, that's what I want. And they built him the real one. The prototype is the one that's in our lodge. And I believe the real one is in the Henry Ford Museum in, I think it's Dearborn, Michigan, but I'm not positive.
That's a great story.
Nationally, the Elks, I looked it up today, in 2019, the fraternal year 2019-2020, donated just under $374 million, but not a lot of that is monetary. What they do is they do put a monetary value on volunteer hours, because the Elks is 99% volunteers. They put a cost on or a value on the hours and the mileage driven and time spent. We like to boast that we're the most charitable and patriotic organization in the world.
How has the pandemic affected you folks? Obviously, you're not doing the social thing probably quite as much.
It's actually affected us quite a bit, because we were shut down for 3 months, then we were allowed to open up for maybe 6 weeks, and now we've been shut down since the beginning of November again, and we honestly don't see us being open again till March. So it's hurting us monetarily, but it doesn't just hurt us, it hurts the community, because we can't, we're still doing our dinners, this is how we raise money. We do dinners, we have raffles. Right. Social media helps, because we get a lot of people that are donating or buying raffle tickets online for us or through Facebook. Mm-hmm. But it does. But even though we've been shut down, we've done pretty well giving back to the community. These are some of the local organizations that we have donated to since the beginning of 2020 through November. I'm not going to read them all, because it's a pretty big list.
That's local.
This is just This is just local. We have the Boys Hockey's Education Trust Fund, the Boys and Girls Club, Brattleboro Winter Carnival, Home at Last, Brattleboro Retreat, Harris Hill Ski Jump, BUHS Booster Club, Girl Scouts of the White and Green Mountains, Make-A-Wish, BMH Touch a Truck, Hinsdale Cal Ripton League, Green Street School Tulip Run, Vermont Therapeutic Writing, Vermont Theater, Vermont Association for the Blind, Kern Hatton Home, Brattleboro Historical Society.
Wow.
Silver Towers, obviously, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Brattleboro Little League, Boy Scouts, Foster Families Children Closet Project, Vermont Suicide Prevention Center, Brattleboro Foster Parents, Kids in Coats, Christmas Gifts for Area Schools, Windham County Heat Fund, Veteran Canteen Services. It's just, and that's
It's
just
amazing.
We've done pretty well, even though we've been shut down. So, but the longer we're shut down, the less we can help out to the community, and that's what we're all about.
Right. Well, that's an extraordinary list, Frank. It's really amazing. And, I think that, again, people don't realize the breadth that you have of giving to the community. And, again, I think that so many of us have felt that, well, we don't know. We haven't known, many of us don't know who the Elks are. And I think that we think that it might be about secret handshakes and passwords.
Well, I'm gonna blame us for people not knowing what the Elks are, because we're not very self-serving when it comes to advertising. We don't put ads in the newspaper, magazines. We don't put anything on the radio or television. So really, the only way anybody learns about the Elks is word of mouth. I welcome this opportunity, and I thank you for this, because a lot of people are under the impression that the Elks is just a place to go and drink cheap. And you can get a cheap drink there, don't get me wrong, okay? But that's not what we're all about. We're all about helping our youth, our veterans,
Yes.
whoever needs.
And you're giving of yourselves and your time and your energy. And thank you, Frank, so much for enlightening us, for letting us know, letting us have a look into the Elks here in town. So this is Frank Lopez, and he has given us a real great picture of the BPOE, the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks here in Brattleboro, Vermont, lodge number 1499.
Come and join our Elks family.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We're happy to have another person from the community coming on and talking about what they do and their impact in the community. So stay tuned. We will be with you here again next week. We want to thank everybody at Brattleboro Community Television who is helping out during this time, keeping us on the air, keeping us connected, and keeping us as part of the community. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.